بسم اللہ الرحمن الرحیم. عام آدمی کے ذہن میں صرف اور صرف ایک سوال ہے. دنیا کے کسی بھی کونے میں آپ چلے جائیں وہاں پہ ایک سوال ہے اور عام آدمی صرف ایک سوال پوچھتا ہے, اور وہ سوال یہ ہے کہ لوگ پوچھتے ہیں کہ رشیا اور یوکرین کی وار جو ہے یہ کب ختم ہوگی اور یہ کتنا عرصہ مزید جاری رہ سکتی ہے. کیا رشیا جو ہے یوکرین کے بعد یورپ کی طرف بھی جائے گا یا نہیں جائے گا, یا صرف اور صرف یوکرین تک ہی رہے گا. رشیا ایٹ دا ویری فرسٹ پلیس اس نے یہ انیشیٹو لیا, یہ جو وار شروع ہوئی وہ اس لیے ہوئی کہ دیر واز اے ریزن ٹو اٹ, اینڈ دا ریزن واز دیٹ بارڈر پہ رشیا اپنے بارڈر پر نیٹو کی فورسز کا وہاں پہ عمل دخل یا ان کی پریزنس جو ہے وہاں پہ برداشت نہیں کر سکتا تھا. اور اس کے بعد جناب یہ کانفلکٹ جو شروع ہوا اور آج کئی سال ہو گئے یہ کانفلکٹ جاری ہے. اس میں آپ کو بھی پتہ ہے, سب کو پتہ ہے, اس میں بڑی کوششیں ہوئیں. ٹرمپ میڈ ایفرٹس دیٹ دس وار شوڈ اینڈ, the war between Russia and Ukraine should end. Trump went to Putin اور اس کے بعد جناب زیلنسکی went to White House اور وہاں پہ جناب مذاکرات ہوتے رہے, بٹ وار ختم نہیں ہوئی. ٹھیک ہے. اچھا, رشین پوائنٹ آف ویو از ڈفرینٹ. رشینز ہیو اے ڈفرینٹ پوائنٹ آف ویو, اینڈ رشینز کا جو پوائنٹ آف ویو ہے وہ یہ ہے, پہلا تو میں نے آپ کے ساتھ شیئر کر دیا, وہ یہ ہے کہ جناب they never wanted NATO forces on their borders. One. Secondly, جتنی اسٹیٹس جناب الگ ہوئی تھی سوویت یونین سے, جب کولڈ وار ایرا جب اینڈ ہوا اور جناب جتنی اسٹیٹس جو تھیں وہ ادھر ادھر ہو گئیں جب ڈس انٹیگریشن ہوئی سوویت یونین کی, ان میں سے ایک یوکرین بھی تھی. سو obviously مطلب کہ یہ تو نہیں, زبردستی تو نہیں خیر میں کہوں گا, لیکن دین اگین obviously جتنی اسٹیٹس واپس آ سکیں انڈر دا فولڈز آف رشیا, دا ناؤ رشیا, obviously ان کے لیے ایک ون ون سچویشن ہوگی. سو اگر یوکرین دوبارہ شامل ہو جائے ان دا فولڈز آف رشیا تو نتھنگ لائک اٹ. سو ایک تو یہ بھی ریزن ہے. اس کے ساتھ ساتھ ایک چیز بہت ضروری ہے سمجھنا کہ جو یورپ سمجھتا ہے وہ سمجھتا یہ ہے کہ جناب ایک یوکرین جو ہے ایک بفر زون کے طور پہ وہاں پہ موجود ہے, اور اگر یوکرین جو ہے اس کو جناب واپس رشیا لے لیتا ہے یا یوکرین میں فورسز 100% آ جاتی ہیں تو پھر نیکسٹ ٹارگٹ جو ہے وہ یورپ بھی ہو سکتا ہے. سو دس از what's at the back of the mind of like so many people and especially the Europeans. سو وہ ایک وہاں پہ ایک سلسلہ جاری رہا, اسسٹنس آتی رہی, ملٹری اسسٹنس آتی رہی یوکرین کو, پولینڈ کے تھرو آتی رہی, and there are so many things which had been happening and you have gone through those things like so many times. So I don't want to waste your time on that. But سوالات یہ ہیں جو میں کرنا چاہوں گا اور رشین پرسپیکٹو آج آپ کے سامنے رکھنا چاہوں گا. اب اس میں یہ بھی پوچھنا بہت ضروری ہے کہ رشیا کے سٹیکس کیا ہیں ساؤتھ ایشیا کی پالیٹکس میں. کیا یہ جو کانفلکٹ ہے بٹوین افغانستان اینڈ پاکستان اس میں کوئی جو رول پلے کر سکتا ہے رشیا یا نہیں, کیونکہ رشیا بارڈر پہ آتا ہے افغانستان کے, تو کیا وہاں پہ کوئی رول پلے کر سکتا ہے؟ اس جو ٹینشن ہے بٹوین افغانستان اینڈ پاکستان, اس ٹینشن کو ڈیفیوز کرنے میں کوئی رول پلے کر سکتا ہے, نہیں کر سکتا؟ اینڈ دیر آر لائک سو مینی کویسچنز which I want to ask my guest over here, Dr. Roxolana Zigon. یہ ڈائریکٹر ہے سائنٹیفک سینٹر آف انٹرنیشنل ریسرچ ماسکو میں. I'll talk to her in English and we'll try our best that we keep the English simple so everyone can like understand what exactly we are saying. Thank you very much for joining me, Doctor. How are you?
Thank you very much. Assalamu alaikum to all our listeners, our audience. I apologize that I cannot expose the knowledge of Urdu language yet, but I do promise that in the time being I will definitely progress. Thank you for inviting me.
It's a pleasure to have you. Doctor, you tell me one thing. There's a very typical question which every other person wants to know about this thing. As you are based in Moscow these days, because you had been traveling a lot, you've been working for almost like 20 years all over in different countries. But right now you're in Moscow, right? And when is this war with Ukraine going to end?
I would like you to...
Why a pause?
I would like you to hear to my pause.
Okay.
Because pause is a symbol of the smart diplomacy. And I think when we start talking about war, we should always take a breath, 2-3 seconds. That's every philosophy teaches, before we say something very decisive. Russia is definitely advocating for peace. But we truly believe if peace is not reachable within the conventional methods, and when you are not heard, I mean Russia, for years, for decades, since the late 2002, 2003, when the debates about the membership of Russia in NATO has been still actual, since that time, the drift, or let's say the divorce between European Union, West and Russia started to progress. And the more Russia has been advocating the agenda of peace, the less it has been heard. And in diplomacy, when you are not well heard, then Russia used to reply with rifles. That's why the conflict that we have between Russia and Ukraine, it's not the conflict between Russian nation and Ukrainian nation. It's a conflict which can be marked as existential, historically driven, and cognitively approved by the crack of the liberal system, by the crack of the geopolitical structure that has unprecedentedly and evidently came on the round table between Russia and the West. So in order to start talking when this war ends, we must find where the peace starts. Russia is absolutely open to negotiate discussion, but Russia is not open to negotiate with Ukrainian regime, which is absolutely 100% illegal. Everyone who has some minimum of expertise, who has been observing the dynamics of that deterioration, degradation of relationship between Moscow, Washington and Brussels, can identify all those points where Russia has been trying to deliver a strong message. Ukraine has been, and it is, traditionally a part of the Slavic world. And Mr. President, Russian President Vladimir Putin, has been exposed that position during his famous interview with Mr. Carlson, who has arrived to Moscow precisely in order to receive the answer when the war ends. And Mr. President Vladimir Putin was very patient to explain to his counterpartner, with demonstrating the maps, geography, giving historical context, why that kind of division has taken place here and now. Russia has refused to follow for the Western agenda. Russia has refused to stand on the knees and to become a member of so-called New World Order, the way the America understands that kind of type of hegemonical leadership. And Russia is the only country in the world that raised its voice and opposed that kind of, let's say, unfavorable alternative. That's why I can say that this war will end when the Western party, when Washington, will be ready to use rational mechanism or rational approach and start moving towards Russia and Moscow with completely another rhetoric. From that moment, I think we can consider that the pause can be minimized and we can truly get to the practical point. Because from another point of view, we could see that the meeting in Istanbul and that kind of formal diplomatic efforts of making Mr. Zelensky meet with Mr. Putin completely failed, because Russian president will never ever sit at the round table with Mr. Zelensky to discuss peace deal, because this is a president who has been from the very beginning realizing completely anti-national, anti-Ukrainian agenda.
So that's the reason, if I'm wrong, please correct me. So that is the reason that the talks between Trump and Putin, that those talks failed, because Trump was probably not getting what Putin has to say, or there were like other reasons to it.
Mr. Putin has recently mentioned, when he was asking quite similar question, he said, don't try to interfere in my good relationship and dialogue with Mr. President of the United States, Donald Trump. The Russian president considers that the meeting in Alaska was a sign of constructiveness and a progress. And I tend to agree with the position and vision of our president, because I think that was an important breakthrough, that dialogue took place. The difference is that we have different political mindset, we have different approach. The administration of Donald Trump wants to pack up the conflict as soon as possible in a blitzkrieg manner. But unfortunately, it's not Vietnam, it's not Afghanistan, so you can't pack up your luggage and run after the airplane, losing your slippers. Russian approach is very precise, and Russian position translates an important stance. We must eliminate the reasons of this conflict if we wish to close up the deal on the consequences.
So how does the European Union takes it, because they take Ukraine as a buffer zone, you know? So if it is not happening, if the war is not stopping anywhere close to a year, 6 months' time, so if the buffer zone is not there, if Ukraine is not there, so the European Union countries, they are a bit, jittery about this thing, that the next move could be any part of Europe. Are they do they have a reason for that, the European countries? Do they have a reason to believe all these things that can happen? There's a smile coming up from your face. Are you smiling now?
I'm very positive because I'm positivist, because I truly believe that rationalism is something that is traditionally, historically characterizing institutions of Europe. On purpose, I'm not saying European Union, because European Union was a branch. The headquarters was in Washington. And after the end of the Second World War, the project, which we call European Union, has been constructed on the soil of the ideology of United States. And dollar ruled since that time. So the system that has been built in European Union is absolutely, let's say, political proxy of United States in ideological way. And now we can see, if we use the economic terms, the last phase of the life cycle of the European Union as a project. And logically, every time when the life cycle used to reach the last phase, immediately appeared Russian threat. It's a very useful instrument in order to solve all the political, economic, financial and military problems in Europe. But I should dismantle the biggest illusion that the majority of my expert colleagues actually have in Europe. Europe has never been united. It's something that existed in a kind of mythological way in their mindset. Europe 20 years ago has been divided, but we couldn't see the layers of that division. Why? Because European Union has been excited about enlargement. And in that kind of hysterical desire to expand territories, to expand its influence, this expansionism worked, of course, not for the better but for worse, because the fathers of the European Union, those who were constructing that system, they completely were aware, and we could read the report of Bilderberg Club, the limits of the growth that was in the mid-70s. They were aware that this project will be lasting until the late 90s or beginning of 2000. So somehow there has been statistics, there have been data, so they were ready for that. And actually they were aware as well that liberalism can't last forever. And naturally speaking, in the context of that redistribution and the reconfiguration of European space, Russia, and especially Ukraine as a buffer zone, has been always in deposit. It was always a kind of, a special place in the bank of ideas, so when you are needing it, you need to use it, then Russia appeared. And the perfect let's say, ace in the geopolitical game was Ukraine, because historically it was always a buffer zone. And European Union completely was aware that if NATO will start its expansion up north, that will be absolutely unacceptable for Russia. But they crossed those red lines in order not to keep Ukraine as a member or invite Ukraine as a member of the European Union. Absolutely not. The hidden agenda was to keep the zone of irritation, to maximize the uncertainty between Russia and the West, and raise the stakes. United States, which I can say strategically was moving quite correctly with their allies in NATO, they knew that until the certain moment, Russia will be, of course, doing whatever it takes not to interfere into military conflict. But if Russia did it, it means Ukraine served its purpose. And the next circle of that negotiation would be the way when United States and European Union will offer Moscow negotiations, will offer to return Ukraine back to the zone of influence of Russia, but for the higher price.
Doc, I have to take a commercial break over here. Let me take a commercial break over here. We'll be back after this break. Ji. Dr. Zigon is with us. She's from Moscow. Ji. And ek dafa phir main introduction kara दूं यहाँ पे. She is the director of the Scientific Center of International Research in Moscow. Ji.
What do you mean by the higher price?
By the higher price that we will
what I'm getting out of it is that what you're saying is that Russia wants Ukraine back, and Russia never wanted NATO on their borders, right? And if you want Ukraine back, so that means that until and unless your objectives, the Russian objectives, are not achieved, the war is not going to end. Until and unless you get hold of the entire Ukraine, it's not ending anywhere soon, right? So, okay, fine, fair enough. But at the very same time, do you think that the West is going to buy all these things, that you occupy the entire, or in other words, I can put it in a different way, you get Ukraine back and then you're going to stop there? Because, the thing is that other countries, they are like, a bit scared, let me put it this way. They have this feeling at the back of their minds that probably Ukraine is not the last stop for Russia. It's going to expand. It's going to Russia is going to reach out to other countries as well. So can they rule out this feeling which is at the back of their minds, or no? How should we take it, Because, people, lots of people out there who like Putin, right? They like his approach. They like talking to the sole superpower president, the way, the body language, all the stuff. They like him. Putin is liked. But there's some out there who are a bit scared of him. So that's why I'm asking that, is this thing going to stop at Ukraine, or is it's going to expand some of the European countries have this feeling?
I have to actually clarify one important thing, which takes place when I hear questions like that. The majority of experts and journalists and media all the time operate with this kind of disposition. When Ukraine occupation, Russia, it's completely wrong from the very beginning. Because we have to figure out, what does it mean, occupation? All of us understand that Ukraine is used as a battlefield for the proxy war. The war between the West and Russia has been for quite a long time. It didn't start on the battlefield of Ukraine. It didn't start when NATO started to expand. It started years and years, decades ago. And I can even trace you, I can monitor your historical background, and we can get up to the period of the beginning of 20th century and the resolution and decisions that were made after the end of the First World War, and how Russia has been actually projected for the hundreds of years ahead after the October Revolution in Russia. Russia has been always, in historical context, a big irritation and a big concern for the West. I'm not inclined to say the West because of collective West. I prefer to be precise as a geopolitician, because as a doctor, you have to be really accurate in identifying who are your friends or who are your enemies, because sometimes the things can be quite easily twisted. I can give you an example. You just mentioned the word occupation. I don't like this word, absolutely, because Russia has never been invading anyone, anything. We don't need any territories. We have a bunch of territory. We are actually used to be empire. We represent more than 100 of nationalities, languages, and we are the unique country in the world who can absolutely, we cannot boast. We can say openly, we are the country, conglomeration, constellation of the nations that used to live in an absolutely friendly environment. We are a meeting point of different civilizations, Asia and the West. And it was Russia who has been not invading Europe. Russia has been always saving Europe. If you look at 18th, 19th century and 20th century, we were all the time stopping either Mongols' invasion to European Union or Napoleonic expansion, etc. And I have also to remind you that, for example, Switzerland enjoys its status of confederation and has its constitution just because the Russian Tsar, Alexander I, after the end of Napoleonic Wars, sent his best minister, who was Greek, to Switzerland to write a constitution for Swiss nation. So thanks to the Russian Tsar, who was absolutely enlightened person and open-minded. But getting back to our days, United States and the West has been invading the minds of Ukrainians for years. So what to consider invasion, what to consider occupation? I think that using the modern terms of the information age, occupation can be anything, any instrument can substitute the national identity, the national values, the national aspirations, and it's very easy. If you just give me a task and ask me, Dr. Zigon, would you like to help us to elaborate strategic plan how to invade or this or that nation in an intellectual or another way, I can tell you, yes, it's practically realizable. Yes, some experts know how to do it. There are different forms of invasion. And Ukrainian nation has been staying under attack from the side of the West for decades. All those foundations, Soros funds, you know, just all those kind of nationalistic groups. It took years and years, so that we reached the point of war, it was illogical. That's why I think we should direct that question to our Western colleagues and to ask them, what do you want? Do you think that Russia will stop being Russia? Do you think that you can continue to invade and to intrude your values, Western values and liberalism, Far East or to China or to Northern Korea or to Pakistan or to India or Africa? I don't think so. Because if you want to be a successful invader, you need to have agenda. You need to have a key, attractive strategy that will make other nations follow you. And United States doesn't have it today, besides the idea and desire to keep its leadership. But it's a shallow thing. Being equipped with such kind of approach, neither United States or European Union can continue invade smaller nations, weaker nations like Ukraine, with such kind of approach.
You know, I understand that you want to get all those states. Let me put the state word. You want all the states back, which were there when Soviet Union was intact, right? I'm talking after the Cold War era, right? So you want to get them back. Let me put it this way. Am I right? You want all those states, all those areas which were like not there with you. I'm putting it in a very different, in a mellow way, that the areas after the disintegration of Soviet Union, which were not with you or are not with you, you want them back?
We never said we want anyone back.
Okay.
We recognize that it was a historically approved divorce. That was a historical logics, and we cannot change facts. We can't enter history twice. The Russian position and the Russian foreign policy is very pragmatic. In order to become attractive, you must offer something attractive. but not in a, let's say, offensive or oppressive way. We never proclaimed, you cannot find any statement either from our president or our foreign minister or someone else from the Russian side who would say, we want you back. And if you will monitor, for example, the situation in the Central Asia, in Caucasus, you will never find any Russian trace. You will never find a kind of extensive network of institutions from the Russian side who are trying to invade or somehow in a kind of aggressive way to attract their attention. No, the Russian position is completely different. Some experts consider that Russia would like to get back to the Soviet Union. It's impossible.
Gotcha.
It's absolutely impossible, so no one believes in that. I think that Russia is driven, or like Mr. Gorchakov, it's a former Minister of Foreign Affairs, a very famous figure in the late 19th century, he used to say, Russia is pregnant with the new ideas. So we're not proclaiming Russia first. It's not our menu, let's say. Russia would like to attract those followers and those visionary countries who would be willing to share with Russia undeniable space of Eurasia, share the same kind of security architecture that Russia would like to promote and to become a strong advocate of. So we are willing to be opened to new partners, to new alliances. So, and we are not inviting or we're not forcing anyone just to join us. So I think it's an important difference in comparison with our Western partners. This is what is all about Russian-Chinese dialogue. And I think it's very important to understand, because recently one journalist asked Mr. President Vladimir Putin, are you going to build a new world order together with China? And he replied, you're not correct, you're wrong. Russia and China are not building new world order. We're giving the outlines, because the world order cannot be built. It can be designed in a natural way. We're just creating conditions for the fair system that this kind of new alternative, not opposition, we're not opposed to the West, but alternative will be smoothly promoted and become attractive to our partners. This is our position.
I have to take a commercial break over here. Let me take a commercial break over here. We'll be back after this break. Dr. Zigon is with us.
So you're looking for new alliances in the area, right?
Yes.
In the region, right? In this region. So if we come back to how will you take this thing, you know, if America is looking for the bases or a base back in Afghanistan, how will you take it? How will Russia take it?
I think we will be watching. We will be very attentive to that process, and Russia will prefer not to interfere at this stage of the moment. We will be attentively observing how the things will be developed, but I would highly recommend to the American side, and I hope to our potential new ally, because Russia never closed the door. Russia has been always exposed patience, and if you hear to these stances and statements of Mr. Putin, he is always open-minded. He said, I hope that we will get in touch with Donald Trump's administration. So we are giving initiative to the American side in order to let them demonstrate what kind of agenda do they have and what do they have in hands to offer to their Afghan partners, Pakistani partners, etc. And after that, we will monitor, evaluate, assess the situation, and we will see what will be, from the pragmatic point of view, valuable to consider and what will be not valuable to consider.
So the Indians have stopped buying oil from Russia, right? So, and there's like a China-US reaching a trade understanding, and so the China and US are coming up with like new plans, trade plans, you know, and there is somehow there is an understanding between the two. So India is out, not buying no more oil from you guys. So first of all, this oil diplomacy, I would say, the oil diplomacy thing is over, right, between India and Russia. And this new thing coming up, this US-China comfort level increasing every day by, though it's a rocky situation, it goes like up and down all the time, it happens. And the tariffs are going low. The Russian economy will have an impact on this or no?
The expectations of the Russia's death are really over-exceeding. I mean the death of Russian economy. The Ukrainian crisis has boosted the military economy quite a lot, and we all know that, and American side know as well, that every military conflict, every war actually helps to support the economic situation. That's number one parameter. Secondly, President Putin, in comparison with the European Union leaders and with American leaders who have been experiencing quite difficult political situation inside of the United States. So he has been investing a lot of efforts into consolidating the Russian society. One Nobel Prize winner, economist, just mentioned in one of his theory that the trust between government and people is the most stable currency. He has even approved, Mr. Douglas, I think his surname, the Nobel Prize winner, that trust influences the GDP level of the economy of the state. So Russian society, despite the expectations of the Western think tanks that on a daily basis transmitting all around the world in the media that when the Russian economy is going to collapse. And they forget that it's not Soviet Union. It's not the era of the late 80s and beginning of 90s. It's completely another Russia. And I would advise them to visit Russia now, and to see the things with their own eyes. Two new generations of young people who have been traveling around, have been studying abroad, who didn't lose critical analysis, and they can compare what is going on in the West, in European states, and what we have achieved in Russia. So our economic stability somehow is very strongly backed up by that solidarity and consolidated society. So I can actually disappoint my colleagues in the West saying that they will be waiting for quite a long time for the failure of Russian economy. We are very resilient, we're very strong.
So that's what you're saying is we're coming up with a clarity, with a clear statement that those who are like thinking or like studying or looking at the Cold War era, they should like forget about that thing.
Absolutely.
It's a different country now. Russia is a different country now.
As Pakistan.
As
Pakistan is a completely different country. Russia is completely
So how do you
different.
take this, the conflict between Afghanistan, Pakistan conflict, because you also are on the border, right? And with like India coming up with an axis with Afghanistan and trying to create a situation in Pakistan. So how do you take this thing? Or can you guys like play a role in this thing, that this tension should be diffused?
Somehow I have been expecting the development of the events exactly in this mode as we are witnessing today. I was giving comments and I was publishing some articles that have been highlighting the conflict between India and Pakistan. That kind of blitzkrieg 9-12 days of tension. And my second stance and statement was very firm. I said, colleagues, please, you should wait for the next phase of the conflict on the border between Afghanistan and Pakistan. And everyone was amazed, so how do you know? So do you have a kind of map or you read the stars? I said, no, there is a strong logic. Being a geopolitician, it means you have to be a bit of esoteric, in politics. I pay a high attention to the level of irrationality in politics. And knowing that Pakistan won in that conflict, in a diplomatic sense, Pakistan has become more evident on the geopolitical scene, and India has lost tremendously in a geocognitive way, as I used to say. And I presume that the next step or the next approach that will come from the Indian side will be a great offer, very generous offer that will come from Washington to Delhi. I was just sitting and expecting the phone call.
Please come again on this one.
I was expecting that it will be generous, fat offer from Washington to New Delhi, or some kind of defense agreement or other kind of bonus or dividends in favor of backing up a new strategic plan of United States in Afghanistan, because India is very active, is extremely proactive and enrooted financially, economically in a defense sector in Afghanistan. And knowing the sometimes bad taste of United States, being quite deliberately aligned to the Cold War approach, I projected that it will be such kind of constellation, a combination of conflict that will take place on the border between Pakistan and Afghanistan. So somehow Americans are not interested in expanding long-lasting wars in the South Asia. It's in no one's interest. That's the reason why Russia is not interfering, because somehow I assume that the Russian president is aware of that big game. That's why you should stay quiet. Believe me that your Afghan brothers, Talibans, will very soon will be knocking your door, and they will be searching for their peace talks. Because first of all, there is quite a high interest towards mutual destiny of trade connectivity, and Afghanistan understands that without investments, without strong economy, without being aligned to the Brotherhood in Pakistan, with Iran, with Central Asian countries, it will be impossible to raise economic situation from the Nils. So that's the configuration that has been taking place. So I'm not envisioning kind of long-lasting war conflict. Definitely it will be successful peace talk. Time after time the tension will pop up on the surface, but I don't believe it will be kind of serious war between Afghanistan and Pakistan. There are mutual interests.
So you're ruling out that stretched conflict between Afghanistan and Pakistan, right? Okay. So do you see Pakistan and India? I'm painting a different scenario over here. Do you see Pakistan and India sitting across the table in like another 4 to 6 months' time, and sorting out their issues, the core issues, including the core issue of Kashmir? And do you see that happening?
Yes, absolutely, definitely. I'm absolutely positive about that. I have strong vision about that. And I can even envision who will be those people who will be sitting at that table and having that kind of discussion. Because we have entered a completely new era of unprecedented decoding of all the old conflicts. All the old conflicts of the 20th century are unpacked, but the time has come to seal them down. And in order to start building that so-called new world order or new geopolitical destiny, we need to get rid of all those disturbing, burning conflicts that are actually prevailing in India and Pakistan to start a new chapter. Because political geography is quite a stubborn thing. So you cannot eliminate the mutual border. You cannot eliminate millions of people and their interconnections and cultural intersection, civilizational context, etc. And the weaker the Western agenda narrative will become, the stronger the Asian agenda will raise. And Pakistan can use that situation and not to search for defeat of its neighbor of India, but stretch the hand, being the first, not proclaiming Pakistan first. Well, it's good, it's great, but and something tells me that there are forces in India that are driven towards the same kind of moods, towards the same statement. And I think Russia in that situation will play quite a constructive, positive Russia and China positive way.
So I assume, well, I'm not saying that I have an intel on this one, I don't have an intel on this one, but I assume that probably in the first quarter of next year, this we can sit across the table with India, and you say that you are for it, right? And you say that it's happening.
Yes.
You see it happening, right? All right. So what level of people, what level of talks are we talking over here between India and Pakistan? Are we talking like head of states talking to each other? Are we talking about like which level of people are going to sit across the table and talk?
I think a good positive thing will be if we start testing the soil through the people-to-people connection, through the area of public diplomacy, through coming together between great thinkers from the side of Pakistan and India. Those people who are focused on the future.
Okay, so you're talking about promoting people-to-people contact, right?
Yes.
And you're also promoting the people-to-people
Absolutely
contact between Russia and Pakistan also, right?
Yes.
You're doing that, right?
Yes.
And you're doing something on the 16th of December 2025 in Moscow also, University of World Civilizations. What is that?
Exactly. That's actually a unique organization. It's University of World Civilization, which has been established 25 years ago in Russia by the famous Russian politician Vladimir Zhirinovsky. Unfortunately, he passed away a few years ago, but he was a worldwide famous person who has been proclaiming and promoting the idea of the closer ties, closer contacts between Russia and Islamic world. Actually, that was going also in favor of the concept of Yevgeny Primakov, who has been advocating that kind of new vision, new map.
Okay.
So I think the forum will take place between Russia and Pakistan in December. And
okay, because I'm getting like being instructing again and again. I can talk with you for hours and hours on this one. I would love to do that, but I'm running out of time over here. It was a pleasure talking to you, and with such a clarity. It's very rare to come across somebody, you know, who can talk with so much of clarity and give out like a clear picture to us, you know, to us guys. So thank you very much once again.
thank you very much for invitation, and I truly enjoyed our
It
communication.
was a pleasure to have you.
Thank you.
फिर आना मुबशिर को इजाज़त दीजिए जी, अल्लाह हाफ़िज़.